Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we will be discussing from the 12th verse of the 12th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tatas sarva gunodarke sanukula grahodaye jagne vamshadhara pandor bhuya pandur ivaujasa. The meaning of this verse is, thereupon, when all the good signs of the zodiac gradually evolved, the heir apparent of Pandu, who would be exactly like him in prowess, took birth. So this is the chapter describing the birth of Emperor Parikshit, and his birth is very special because by birth he is a pure devotee, and that's the reason he was protected in the womb of his mother by Krishna himself personally. And throughout his life, he was conducting himself as a pure devotee. So such pure devotees are directly coming from the spiritual world. They have got the purpose of life as the mission of the Lord, and therefore such personalities are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam as ideal devotees whose footsteps we should all follow, so that we can also become pure devotees and perfect our lives very, very easily, simply by following in their footsteps. Now, Parikshit's birth is happening in a very, very favorable astronomical situation. The birth itself is like that, and Srila Prabhupada will explain in the purport the reason for the birth being very special. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, astronomical calculations of stellar influences upon a living being are not suppositions, but are factual as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a lot of speculation about what is astronomy, what is astrology, and what are the stars or the different heavenly bodies whose movements are basis of a calculation done in astronomy as well as in astrology. A chart is prepared, and based on the chart, a learned astrologer can read the chart and actually tell many things about the person taking birth in a particular time, in a particular place, under the influence of these stars or these heavenly bodies appearing in the sky. So these calculations, as Srila Prabhupada says here, are factual. They are not some theories based on some speculation, which are some sentimental people's belief systems. No. These are 100% true, and they are all factual, and it is based on a complete science. Jyotir Veda, complete science, perfect science. So, Srila Prabhupada says further, every living being is controlled by the laws of nature at every minute. It is foolish to think that we are free, independent. We can do whatever we like. No, we cannot. We have some degree of freedom, but we have to act responsibly because there is control by the laws of nature every minute. Just as a citizen is controlled by the influence of the state, just like state laws are working. And if somebody is belonging to a particular state, he has to obey the laws. The state laws are grossly observed. But the laws of material nature, being subtle to our gross understanding, cannot be experienced grossly. How these influences are working, the astronomical influences, we cannot see with our eyes manifest in gross terms. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 9th verse, every action of life produces another reaction which is binding upon us. Every action that we perform has got a reaction according to the laws of nature, and that reaction is binding us to this material world. It's tying us down. We cannot escape the reaction. And it's also told in the same verse in the Bhagavad Gita, only those who are acting on behalf of Yajna or Vishnu are not bound by reactions. So there is a special facility given to human beings who are performing actions on behalf of Vishnu. Yajna, yajnarthat karmanaha, it's called. Karma done, actions done on behalf of yajna, yajnartha. Such people, who are they? They are devotees, devotees of Vishnu, devotees of the Supreme Lord. They are not bound by reactions because they do all work on behalf of Vishnu. So Srila Prabhupada further says, our actions are judged by the higher authorities who are the agents of the Lord. And thus we are awarded bodies according to our activities. So many living beings in so many varieties of bodies. What is the basis somebody is born in a particular type of body? The basis is the judgment of the higher authorities according to the work we have performed in the previous life. So there is a definite law working. There's a definite basis. There are enforcers of all these laws, and they are not visible to our eyes. They cannot be perceived with our gross senses. Only foolish, ignorant, arrogant, less intelligent, atheistic, demoniac people say there is no higher control. I don't believe in astronomy. I don't believe in astrology. I don't believe in scriptures. Only such foolish people talk nonsense, rubbish. And even as they are talking, they don't realize that even their movement of the tongue is controlled. Next moment, such a foolish person gets a paralytic stroke. He can't talk, he can't move his limbs, he cannot even utilize his body at all, and is simply admitted to some hospital, or he lie in some place completely like a vegetable, and then he speaks all kinds of rubbish as long as he is able to vibrate his tongue. You see, this is the reality, and we see it all around us all the time. So the fact is, the laws of nature are there. They are being enforced by the Devatas, the agents of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and they are binding upon us. Nobody is exception. Nobody is exception. The laws of nature are so subtle that every part of our body is influenced by the respective stars. And a living being obtains his working body to fulfill his terms of imprisonment. We are very proud of the body that we have, but we don't realize that this body is a prison for the soul, the real I, real self. For me, it is a prison. It is limiting me in so many ways. Because we do not know, as spirit soul, what is the kind of freedom I have. That I do not know. I am totally ignorant of that reality. So therefore, the scriptures are enlightening us, educating us, informing us, warning us that you are imprisoned in your material body, and it is got a basis. Why are you imprisoned? To fulfill the term of imprisonment imposed by the higher authorities according to a set of laws of nature which are working, perfectly working. The state laws may not be always imposed perfectly. Some few people may escape the state law, but nobody can escape the laws of nature. So a man's destiny is therefore ascertained by the birth time constellation of stars, and a factual horoscope is made by a learned astrologer. It is a great science. This astrological science is a great science, and misuse of a science does not make it useless. In recent times, it has been misused, abused, and ignorant people sometimes do get cheated by bogus astrologers who do not know the science, and they make money out of misleading people. So that doesn't mean the science is wrong or the science is not valid. It is the person who doesn't know the science who is cheating people. It's a quack who cheats people, not the learned, enlightened, authorized doctor. So there's a difference between a quack and a doctor, a good doctor. Similarly, there's a difference between a learned astrologer and a bogus astrologer. There's a big difference, and we have to learn that. So I'll stop.